It's all part of the rehab, so there would be days when he's out there, there's days when he's not. And like I said, we just have the roster flexibility. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't be able to afford to do this. He's not playing. You know, just observing him, he tried everything he could to get back. And, you know, who knows if the circumstances were different and get a couple of these wins. Maybe we're having a different conversation, but I know he gave everything he could. My instinct says if he was 100%, he'd probably be banging the door a little bit more. But like he said, he's a couple weeks away. And so there's always just weighing those the risks and the rewards for it.
Robert, what's your message to the fan base about what next year could look like for this team with the healthy Rodgers?
Well, healthy Rodgers, healthy O-line, get that thing fixed too. And, you know, the excitement in August of 2023 was real. The excitement of everyone coming out of the tunnel on September 11th was real. And it's unfortunate the way the season panned out, but with that excitement, we'll have that excitement again. And the expectation for me, and I'll speak for everybody around here, is that we win. And I do believe we will.
Maybe considering the way it worked out this year, do you have to be a little more judicious as an organization on just bringing in guys that he's close to?
Yeah, no, for sure. And, you know, it's to get his opinion and all that stuff, obviously he's always going to be warranted. We're always going to include him. And, you know, but whether even last year, there's still you still have to be judicious and make sure you're crossing T's, dotting I's. And it's not uncommon throughout the league to call a player who has been with other players to ask, hey, how was this dude as a teammate? How was he as a how was he on the field? How was he around the building to gather information? So that's not uncommon, and we'll continue to use that resource not only with him but everybody on the roster. We're always going to be as aggressive as can be, and you know, thankfully we do have a tremendous owner who has been willing to push the envelope as far as we can, and you know, we've got to be smart and got to make sure we're doing the right things, but we want to win a championship. We believe we can win a championship, and I know he said 2 years, but in a perfect situation, we win a championship next year, and he walks off in the sunlight.
We talked to some of the players after the game on Sunday, and they said they might have trouble being motivated for these last 3 games. What can you do as a coach to help them get for these last 5 games?
You know, after the game, everyone's running high in emotion or low, in our case. But I think after a couple of days of reflection, and they always show up on Wednesday, even coaches. I mean, Monday and Tuesday are not fun after losses, whether you're in it or not. But by Wednesday, when we hit the grass and we're together and we're communicating, it always goes away, and it always provides a good reset. But at the end of the day, everyone gets it, from coaches to players. As coaches, you're putting your best game plan together, and everyone's watching. And as players, 32 teams or 31 teams, other teams are getting that tape. So, you know, it's always your resume, and it's not necessarily a threat, but it's understood that you are what your tape says you are. And I know that at the end of the day, if your brother's going out there to sacrifice and play his tail off, then the expectation is you do it for him and you do it for one another. But that's the cool thing about this group is I do think they'll continue to go out there and fight like they have all year.
From that standpoint, CJ talked about that on, I think it was Monday, that, you know, it's not in his DNA to give up or anything like that. How much do you appreciate having a guy like that leading your defense?
Very much. And, you know, but I feel like that's the entire locker room. You know, it's I know there's a lot of frustrations from fans, coaches, players, everybody, with regards to how the season has panned out. But at the same time, when those young men put those helmets on and you put your hand in the dirt, and the man next to you has got his hand in the dirt, you're doing everything you can to make sure that he can do his job to the best of his ability. I do my job, so you can do your job. And that's really the cool thing about football, where everybody matters. And so I think in this sport, and I'll speak for all 32 teams, that every locker room feels the same way. I've never prescribed to the idea that players quit. I haven't. And because when you quit on your teammate, and that's probably one of the greatest sins to me. But when you look at our locker room and you look down our roster, I feel like we've got tremendous character, and those guys love one another and they'll play for one another.